Good day, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today to share my thoughts on the outlook for the independent luxury segment. This is a subject that is near and dear to my heart as the president and CEO of the leading hotels of the world, the unrivaled leader in independent luxury for over 90 years, with 430 of the best independent luxury hotels around the world. Leading Hotels' mission is to connect and empower hoteliers to make the choice to stay independent, so this remarkable segment can continue to thrive, especially in this extraordinary moment we are living. There can be little doubt that this past year has been the most turbulent that many of us have ever experienced. We have lived with constant concern about the health and safety of our families, employees, and friends, while at the same time we have watched this global pandemic ravage our industry and our businesses, challenging us in ways we could never have imagined just one short year ago. Within the span of a couple of months in early 2020, the world transformed. With over 90% of the world's population forced to stay at home, hotels very quickly saw cancellations skyrocket and business disappear. Cities around the world, usually bustling with tourists, were suddenly and eerily quiet. International tourist arrivals dropped 70% globally. And, not surprisingly, worldwide hotel bookings declined by almost half, with occupancy hovering around 40%, causing the loss of more than 121 million global travel and tourism jobs around the world. It is difficult to overstate the debilitating impact this global pandemic has had on our world and on our industry. But while COVID may have bruised and battered us, it will not beat us. In fact, I would posit that this crisis has brought out the absolute best in the global community of hoteliers. I have witnessed incredible demonstrations of humanity and kindness, competitors working together to support their communities, from feeding and housing essential services workers to fundraising to find a vaccine. And I have been inspired by the creativity, agility, and sheer force of will of independent hoteliers as they have navigated their way through a crisis with no precedent. Therefore, and perhaps not surprisingly, I remain exceedingly optimistic about the future of independent luxury hotels, and I believe independent hotels are well positioned to accelerate out of this crisis for 3 reasons. First, travel returns. It always does. Next, luxury is local 2.0, a new perspective on an old trend. And finally, independents thrive in the post-COVID world. Let's explore these in a little more detail. First, travel returns. It may not feel like it just yet, but remember, recovery has already begun. The world has started to travel again. April was the worst month of this crisis for our industry. Since April, there have been slow, small improvements in occupancy and revenue. Of course, we all want the recovery to be faster and larger scale, but let us appreciate how far we have come. We are closer to the end of this crisis than we are to the beginning. The road to recovery will be long, but make no mistake, we will recover. According to McKinsey's tourism recovery model, the likely recovery scenario suggests 2021 tourism revenue could be around 65% of 2019 levels, with 2022 reaching 85% of 19, and then achieving 2019 levels in 2023. So while recovery will be protracted and uneven, what is important to remember is that travel will recover. Not in 10 years, not even in 5. For most of us, we will return to 2019 revenue levels, which, as a reminder, was one of the best years ever in hospitality, in 2023. As in previous periods of disruption, leisure travel will once again lead the way out of this crisis. And we are certainly seeing this in our own LHW business, where we already have a very strong leisure base. Almost all of the leading hotels' room nights booked after the start of this crisis have been for leisure travel. And as the mix of business has skewed even more towards leisure in 2020, we have seen ADR increase 6%. This increase is even more pronounced for weekend trips, with ADR up 9%. Leisure business is being led, not surprisingly, by our intrepid and loyal Leaders Club members, who have continued to travel despite the challenges of doing so. staying longer, and spending more per trip than last year. The Leaders Club members in our top tiers spent 21% and 35% more per trip than the average member this year. And as you've surely already experienced, for those that are traveling, they are being opportunistic, booking and traveling within a week. For LHW travelers staying in their home region, 51% of their trips are booked and traveled within a week versus 39% last year. But even more remarkably, for those traveling outside their region, almost half are booking and traveling within 7 days, almost 2 times more than last year. Travelers are actively surveying what is happening as it relates to travel restrictions, COVID cases, and risk for quarantine, and they are moving quickly when the conditions align and a window to travel opens. The urge to travel is so strong that many of our guests are planning their travel not based on a specific desired destination, but rather simply where they are allowed to travel without restrictions. And speaking of the urge to travel, according to the Digital Life Index survey by Publicis Sapient, vacations and trips are the single largest category of purchases consumers from around the world have delayed due to the pandemic, representing the largest category of pent-up demand for consumers. The percentage of consumers deferring booking vacations and trips is almost double that of clothes, shoes, and accessories category, and almost triple the personal electronics and luxury items categories. And this is remarkably consistent across all regions. There is a large population of consumers around the world who are desperate to travel again, to have something to look forward to in this endless year. We can expect this pent-up demand to begin to gradually release as rapid testing and therapeutics become more prevalent. In fact, according to the WTTC and Oliver Wyman report, To Recovery and Beyond, only 17% of global travelers say they will defer travel until they receive a vaccine. But we expect the dam will finally break when the COVID vaccine is widely available globally, hopefully by mid-next year. Next, Luxury is Local 2.0. Certainly we all know this. Local, authentic, and experiential travel has been an international luxury travel trend for many years now. This is hardly new news. But the 2.0 version looks at this familiar trend through an uncommon lens. This time, it's not about inbound international travelers seeking local and authentic experiences, but rather local travelers awakening to and exploring the beauty and wonders of their own cities and countries. With a 70% decline in international tourist arrivals worldwide, we all know the path to recovery starts with domestic and short-haul regional drive or train market business. At Leading, we are seeing this play out in our results, with the revenue mix of domestic and close regional travel increasing almost 50% year over year. Hotels that have been able to quickly redesign their physical space and service strategies to imaginatively address new social distancing and safety requirements, while simultaneously pivoting their sales and marketing strategies to appeal to the interests of their local communities and domestic travelers in very different ways than they have before, are performing far better than those hotels who were slower to identify and act on these trends. And the independent hotelier is better positioned to respond quickly and creatively to the different needs of this new local guest, because they are not bound by chain guidelines or limited by brand standards. They are incredibly creative and agile by nature. It's why they chose to stay independent. Their ingenuity and their ability to move quickly have been big advantages during a time where there has been no playbook for how to manage. Let me share with you examples of how some of the visionaries of independent hospitality responded to this opportunity. The team at the Malibu Beach Inn in California converted some of the property's guest rooms into office spaces, removing beds from the rooms, replacing them with standing and seated desks, and introducing a work from hotel package where locals could reserve a seaside room for the day to work. They saw tremendous weekday pickup from the surrounding community of remote workers who were desperate to mix up a very monotonous work from home routine. This weekday business supplemented the already healthy weekend drive business, which enabled MBI to significantly exceed their comp set in occupancy throughout the pandemic. In addition, many of our innovative hoteliers embraced the challenge of creating an extraordinary F&B experience while creatively addressing the new social distancing requirements to attract the local community. For example, Hotel Soccer Wien turned 150 of their hotel rooms into pop-up restaurants, accommodating guests and locals for an intimate 3-hour dining experience. And when government regulations required D'Angleterre Copenhagen's Michelin-starred restaurant to close, the property launched Marcal to Go, takeaway service. They turned a Michelin kitchen operation into a takeaway service in a matter of days, without compromising the integrity and quality of the restaurant. And finally, many of our hotels partnered to co-curate itineraries to invite travelers to explore and discover the beauty of their very own country or region. For example, in Lake Como, Il Sereno teamed up with Chetty Andermatt in the heart of the Swiss Alps to offer a lake and mountain escape itinerary. In Portugal, a city and country retreat was created between Bairro Alto Hotel in Lisbon and São Lourenço de Buraco in the farmland foothills of Monsaraz for guests to experience the best of Portuguese culture. Many of the independent hoteliers of LHW also seized the opportunity to extend their leadership role beyond the world of hospitality to support their local communities as they struggled with the impacts of the crisis. Our members supported the first responders and medical professionals within their own communities. Okura Tokyo served 2,000 meals to doctors and nurses at 5 of Tokyo's major hospitals, while others, including Santa Caterina, La Serenusa, and Palazzo Avino, raised money for COVID-19 vaccine research. And still others participated in the leading hotel's Stay It Forward program that offered guests the opportunity to buy hotel certificates now and stay later, up to 2 years later, with 100% of the proceeds benefiting employees of the hotel facing financial hardships or charities doing essential work for their communities. Luxury is Local took on an entirely new meaning this year, as independent luxury hoteliers all over the world demonstrated the ability to see opportunity in the face of adversity, responding to the disruption of COVID to cultivate new guests, develop innovative experiences, and support their communities, all of which are sure to have a lasting impact on their hotels and their communities well beyond the conclusion of this crisis. And finally, independents thrive in a post-COVID world. While we cannot underestimate the impact of this global health crisis on our industry and on our world, I am confident the independent luxury hotel segment is very well positioned to emerge from this crisis stronger than before because of the alignment of 3 critical conditions. Unabated growth of consumer demand for ever more authentic and tailored experiences that independent luxury hotels are best positioned to deliver. COVID-19 has not changed this fundamental shift away from sameness and uniformity. Greater appreciation for the long-term value of investing in independent hotels is creating the possibility for more independent hotels around the world as an alternative to franchise brands. And finally, the relentless creativity and agility of independent hoteliers that has been amplified by this crisis will continue to enable independent hotels to stay on the leading edge of product and service innovation. And while I am confident in the conditions are in place for this important segment of hospitality to continue to thrive, individual independent luxury hotel owners may need additional support to better position themselves to accelerate out of this crisis. Independent hotels may benefit from the expertise of a soft brand collection to help extend their reach through a globally recognized luxury brand and extensive global sales, marketing, and distribution expertise at a time when competition for luxury travelers will be intense. Leading Hotels is one of several such companies. We are owned by our member hotels, created by hoteliers for hoteliers, and our mission is to connect and empower hoteliers to achieve the commercial success necessary to be able to make the choice to stay independent by helping hotels do what they cannot do as easily for themselves. With an extensive global footprint of operations in 20+ countries around the world, we connect the most qualified luxury guests and clients with a community of the most iconic independent luxury hotels in the world. Members can gain access to Leading Hotels' global sales, marketing, digital, and distribution expertise to engage and acquire new guests and deliver best-in-class ADR and annual revenue growth, while also preserving their distinct DNA and realizing their own vision for their hotel. Working with brands such as LHW, independent hoteliers gain access to powerful solutions that could accelerate short-term recovery while also creating long-term competitive advantage. But that would be difficult for them to actually build themselves. A loyalty program to both acquire guests referred by other hotels in the community and reward and retain existing guests. Group purchasing power to improve commercial and business terms with vendors such as OTAs, payments, and technology platforms. Strategic relationships with the most influential leisure and corporate travel clients around the world to acquire new guests at scale. Digital marketing and distribution expertise to increase more profitable hotel direct business. Independent hotels who can establish and maintain strong positions in their markets are able to control their own destinies. They can choose to stay independent. While I believe the future of independent luxury hotels is bright, each individual hotel must take action now, before travel returns in earnest, to position themselves to be ready to accelerate out of this crisis to ensure their individual success in the future. I am incredibly passionate about the future of independent luxury hospitality, and I remain steadfast in my dedication to the continued success of this vital segment. I have been inspired by the sheer force of will, creativity, and humanity independent hoteliers around the world have demonstrated this year, and I look forward to forging the path to recovery and creating a brighter post-COVID future for hospitality together with all of you. In closing, I have but one request. Please do not lose the tremendous humanity and creativity you have shown during this crisis when things return to normal, whatever that will look like. Continue to challenge yourself to think differently, to question things. Don't fall back into the old habits of doing things because we always used to do them that way. As difficult as this last year has been, I believe the humanity and creativity that our community has shown will do far more to advance independent hospitality than anything we've done in the last 5 years. Don't lose the momentum.